want to share some thoughts with you on this idea of owning the room. Owning the room, right? What is that? It's an expression that is generally used to describe one's ability to command the audience's attention when you're giving a presentation. I also like to think of it though in terms of your ability to command attention or respect of others in any given situation. It doesn't have to be an actual room as we understanding, right? But just in any situation, you're there gaining or commanding attention and respect from others. In other words, you're there holding your own. You're able to put your best foot forward, as it were, put your best self forward. And so understand that this is a skill, man, and it's a really, really important skill to have, a really important skill to develop as you seek to navigate your world, your social and your professional world, right? And it's not just, how we talk about, hey, when you meet someone, you have to look them in the eye, you have to give a firm handshake and, kind of stand with your shoulders squarely and all of those things. Those are all important. But I think it's also like projecting, just standing there with some charm and some charisma and, as I said earlier, commanding attention, because that inspires trust. It causes other people to trust you too, that you're authentic, that you are your true self, because I so believe that the most powerful way that any of us can present ourselves to the world is by being authentic. Now, you might say, well, Devon, that all sounds well and good, and I'm not the kind of guy or girl who can command attention in a room, or gain the respect of people I don't know. I'm not charming or charismatic and none of that stuff. I can't speak to save my life, not even for a second. Remember what I said earlier, that this owning the room thing is a skill. It's a skill. What do we know about skills? What do we know about skills? There are things that you learn. You practice them, like the skill of walking and writing and reading and driving and all of those things that when we started out initially we were horrible at it. We're absolutely horrible at it. We couldn't do it. But then you practiced it. And after a while you became quite competent until it's kind of second nature. So I'm saying that this thing of this idea of owning the room is a skill that you can practice and develop, and it's going to help you really to navigate the world in such a completely different way, right? You won't be a wilting flower in the corner of the room. You won't go to an event and try to be invisible. So let me share with you 4 quick ideas as to how you can own the room. The first thing is that I think you should be prepared. You have to be prepared. There's a way to prepare for any eventuality, every situation that you may or may not find yourself in. Again, I say this all the time when I was at Sandhurst doing my training, and it's one of those things that I've always remembered, man. They taught us the 7 P's. Prior preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance, and just one of those things that have stayed with me. And so imagine that you went to an event, I don't know, a birthday party, and you're not really expected to get up and give a talk, but there is that slight possibility that you could, right? So the whole business of impromptu speech is that you're giving a speech that you're not prepared for, or you haven't prepared. But here's the thing, you can prepare for an impromptu speech. If you have the inkling that they may call you to say a few words, then it's your responsibility to now work out in your head, in the event that I'm called to say a few words, what few words could I say? And you work that out in your head. You don't have to write it down, doesn't have to be a big thing. You just work that out in your head, and if and when you're called, then you just say the thing that you prepared in your head. Bam! You're owning the room. You're going for a job interview. You're going to make a sales presentation. It's the same thing, right? It's just so foolhardy to go walk into a job interview blindly, not being prepared, not understanding, obviously, the demands of the job, the requirements, understanding as best as you can a little bit about the culture of the company. I mean, that's why you have the internet, and that's why you have your phones and the technology at your fingertips. It's just so much easier these days to prepare than it was, back in the days. And then you have to act confidently. I know you may not necessarily feel confident. They say you fake it till you make it. I had no clue what I was going to say or how I was going to get through the next 3 minutes, but I walked in. And I pretended that I was confident. I acted confidently, and it gave off that air. And it obviously changes the energy in the room. It changes your own thinking and your expectations. And so when you act confidently, this kind of builds on itself. So learn to act confidently, and eventually you will become confident, right? So be prepared, act confidently. Number 3, it's really important, I think, to connect with your why. Why is it that this particular goal that you're seeking is important to you? Why are you in this at this event? Is it a sales call? Is it a job interview? Are you pitching? Is it a business meeting where you're pitching a business idea? Why is it important that you get these people on your side? That when you connect with your why and you really intensify your connection with the reason why your goals are important, hey, you show up so much differently because you know why you're there, right? You have this one sole purpose. And when you are clear about what that why is, and when you connect with it intensely, yes, I promise you will own the room. And again, these are just things that you can work on. So connect with your why. And number 4, really important, to listen intently. Listen intently. I always talk about my early days bobsledding, and sitting at a table, whether we're in a restaurant or just wherever, just being in a, I was about to say being part of a conversation, but being present when these conversations were happening, because I couldn't really contribute to them. And they're talking about sponsorship and corporate sponsorship and funding and marketing and using all these words, man. And honestly, I knew how to spell them, I guess. But these were just words and phrases and expressions that were not part of my vocabulary. And it just sounded like Russian or Chinese. I was totally out of my element, and I would just sit there with my ears wide open, just trying to understand how these words are used, what these thoughts are, and to grasp the concepts. And so that's my advice to you: to listen intently, and I'm going to tell you to listen actively. Practice active listening. What do I mean by that? Hey, you can't contribute to the conversation because you're out of your element. What is being discussed is not part of your vocabulary and the things that you normally talk about. But if you're listening, you can ask some questions. That's what I mean by listening actively. You can actually ask questions. One, because it makes it seem as if, hey, he knows what he's actually interested, or she's interested in what we're saying. And then you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining information, and in that way you're holding your own, you're putting your best self forward. So talking about interested, it's really important that You don't seek to become the most interesting person in the room, right? You want to come across as interested. And when you're listening and you're asking questions, you're actively listening, you're seeking information, you're showing an interest in the other people in the room, then they will gravitate to you, because there's the subject that people like the most is themselves. So people will be willing and just too happy to talk to you if you come across as interested in them. So those are the thoughts I wanted to share with you, man. I think all of us have the ability to own the room. In other words, to hold our own, to put our best self forward, and it requires some work, like everything else in life. But I think it's a really important skill to learn, to develop, to practice, because it really helps us to grow and to become our best selves. Until we connect next week, my friends, yeah, man, keep on pushing.